great achievement. It's the first time I've ever had to say that you have nothing else to say. He's lying. It just shows that he's a worthy successor to myself as a member of Parliament. But we've had a lot of entertainment and a lot of humour. But the toast that I'm going to give is something different. To me, the referendum is perhaps too much involved in facts, policies, and economics. That here we are at a bun supper when we've been listening to praise of our national poet, who is not terribly interested in facts and figures. He could express it more figuratively in his poems and in his songs. So a nation, a country, is not just a matter of money and will you be better off. And when we laugh and are furious at the poem, bought and sold for English gold, what a parcel of rogues in a nation, let's just compare it with the attitude survey, which said that people in Scotland would be prepared to decide the future of their nation on the basis of £500 either way. That is absolutely shameful. And it's not the way either that you will be able to create a new society. You cannot do it in a penny pinching way in the fashion that I've described. Burns laid out the fact that Scotland has had a lot to give to Western civilization. In his songs, in his poems, in the culture of the country, and it was said that he rescued the Scots language from extinction. By the way in which he used it, he refurbished our heritage. And I think when we come up to this year, in September the 18th, let's just think of the nation that we want to take forward. Just remember that we're not a Johnny-come-lately country. Though sometimes they seem to do better than we do, I have to admit. But we are a nation of some 1,200 or 1,300 years of history. That we became a country and a nation before England did. We were unified in a way that many other countries in Europe were not. So I say to you that as one of the oldest nations in Europe, it's a duty that we have to take our country forward and to claim what is ours as of right. We are entitled to independence. But of course, if people won't seize that opportunity, then they are going to suffer for it. If you think, any of you, that the establishment in London is going to lightly forgive the humiliation they've been caused, with other countries laughing at them, with Mr. Putin coming to their aid on their request, no doubt that's why that task force from Russia was based off our coast. If the Royal Navy no longer has any ships, at least the Russians can lend them some. But we've got a duty. And I bring you back to that word again and again and again. We do not just have a right to independence. We have a duty to bring it. And it's not just for the sake of the country of the past or our dejected country of the present. It's a nation that we can refurbish, that we can rebuild, that we can have a vision. And of course we're all adults, or most of us, and we know full well that a lot of the promises and ideas are not easily fulfilled. There are problems. We're going to have to settle a lot of things, including dealing with our near neighbours, our friends, who will be our friends in 5 or 10 years, but I suspect that the first 2 or 3 years are going to be rather rough training. And we've got to be as firm and as ruthless as they are. If we go into the negotiations, we go in hard, and we don't give up, because at the end of the day, the English economy is much more precariously balanced than ours is. You take away the value of oil to exports, You take away the value of the exporting of whisky and our other exports, take that out of the English balance sheet where they have put them, and transfer them to Scotland. I ask you, whose currency is going to be the stronger one? Can they afford not to do a deal with us? But of course, if we go in thinking we are in a defensive position, then they will take advantage of that. I was invited the other day just to, by a relative, to go and visit him to a tremendous game that was taking place between Rangers and that great team, Stennismuir. We're, in that context, the big club, and they, in that context, are the ones who are in difficulty. I don't want to go on about politics. I just want to make the point that we talk about independence. I'd like to put it another way. I'd like to say that what we want to do is not just to get our independence. It's to get our freedom. It's our freedom to do things our way. The freedom to make mistakes. The freedom to build up the country. And freedom to work together. All countries are no different from Scotland. They have a community at the heart. To many of these, we've got the community of our culture from our parents and grandparents. To many of the others who have just come to Scotland, they have to learn that, but they are part of our same community. And we've got to be welcoming them to ever. I want to commit the ultimate heresy at a Burns supper to some that might arguably be as good a poet as Robert Burns, but that's difficult to establish, of course. But it's William Shakespeare. Yes, it's not bad. Coming on, if he had lived a few more years and written a few more plays, he would have come up to Burns' standard. But we are a tolerant, liberal country, and of course, we are quite prepared to admit that he had certain good quotes that we can adopt. But he said this, and just remember that in this year of the referendum, you are being given an opportunity that generations of people in Scotland have been seeking for untold years, almost going back centuries, including Robert Burns himself. A right to be able to achieve Scottish sovereignty. It's a chance that's not likely to recur within your lifetime. We can't guarantee that. But when you see it, when you have it within your grasp, when you're working, when you're tired and you go out again to do the work, just remember, there are many folk who have fought just as hard as you and are now resting in their graves, not having seen the prospect of independence as a reality. So there is a time in our lives that doesn't happen very often. But Shakespeare put it this way: there is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads to fortune. And to this generation it is given for them to win Scotland's freedom. So on that basis, my friends, I would ask you to rise, and I give you the toast, not just to our country of Scotland, but to Scotland and freedom. Scotland and freedom.